Hey, what's up guys? Shuckle King here, and we are back for SPL Season 4. This is going to be quite an exciting season. I feel like we've had very unique seasons for SPL, and this one's going to be definitely no different. If you guys want to support me throughout the season, make sure you guys consider subscribing to the channel. Really appreciate everyone's support. So, after last SPL Season 3 was a VGC League, we are going back to singles for SPL Season 4, but it is going to be almost any ability. I don't know if there has been a Pokemon Draft League on Wi-Fi that has done almost any ability. I'm sure there's Showdown ones that have done it, but I don't think anything on Wi-Fi. So this is a very exciting new opportunity, and we have a great group of coaches here. We have a smaller season, which is also something I've wanted to test out as well. But I know for almost any ability, this was something that AIM had in the works for a long time, and I also wanted to do VGC, so we did the VGC first for 3, and now we're doing almost ability for Season 4. So how almost any ability works is you give, we'll do normal drafting of Pokemon. There are some bans and such. At the end of the draft, you can decide to give 2 abilities that aren't banned to the Pokemon on your team. Something like Pure Power is going to be banned, for example, but there's some abilities that are still very good and almost as good as those abilities, but not quite, but we're able to give them to Pokemon. So once we give an ability to a specific Pokemon on our team, we aren't able to give that ability to anything else on our team, but we're not drafting the abilities, we are only drafting the Pokemon. So every team can have a Levitate Pokemon, for example. That's one of the abilities that's not banned. So, I don't know anything about almost any ability. I was looking on the Smogon forums and I was able to get some information there. But AIM spent like maybe an hour and a half going through like every Pokemon in the top half from like the 10 to the 19 point tier of like everything that they do. So that was pretty incredible there. I don't know if he's going to be posting a video that goes over all the mons and the tiering and such for this league. So shout outs to AIM for all the help with the drafting of this team. Also my front office as well, so shout outs to Cypher, OG Albina, TJ's, Ven, Six Foot Hex, Min, Beard Pig. They all gave pretty good inputs of what I think I should be drafting this season. So we got second pick. There's only 8 coaches, so I feel like we're going to get a lot of Pokemon that are busted and really, really good just because there's not going to be too many snipes. And honestly, I don't feel like I was really sniped at all. Maybe outside of pick 1, honestly, because I think Chanpao would have just been a really, really fun pick 1, but next has got Chanpao, so not gonna be able to get that this season, but I feel like we got a really good second Pokemon, so I'm excited to share that with you. So I'm gonna go over each Pokemon at a time, and I will explain the abilities that I picked as I go to the Pokemon. So the first Pokemon we got, there was Great Tusk was definitely an option at the second pick. Like, imagine Great Tusk having a useful ability. That seems really, really good. We went with Gholdengo, who honestly has a broken ability anyway, good as gold, but we are not giving it good as gold this season. We can give its normal abilities as its options, but Gholdengo's only going to have 2 abilities as its options, so it's not going to have good as gold. I can't rely on that. I can only give it the 2 abilities I give it at the end of the draft, but I'm going to explain why I gave it the 2 abilities that I gave Gholdengo. So those 2 abilities, the first one is going to be Hadron Agent. So you summon electric terrain and you get a 1.33 times stat boost. So we do have Thunderbolt. So we basically give ourselves another stab plus option, because Hadron Agent is basically going to give us stab on Thunderbolt, and it's also going to boost our special attack by 1.33 times. So Thunderbolt's going to be hitting really hard. Bulky Waters are not going to be able to stop us. And then obviously we have Make It Rain and Shadow Ball as good stab options. We have Recover if we want to go with a little bit more defensive set, but I think going with Trick and Choice Scarf with Gholdengo and Hadron Engine is going to be really, really nice. Gholdengo is really good just because the speed is good enough that you're going to be outpacing everything that's not Deoxys Speed, which I'm pretty sure is banned. Yeah, Deoxys Speed is outspanned, so maybe like a Regieleki would be faster, but I think that's about it. So yeah, Gholdengo with a Scarf should be outspeeding everything, and you're getting your special attack boost, which is pretty crazy. The second ability that I went with on Gholdengo is Earth Eater. So this will let me heal when I get hit by a ground type move. So I'm basically immune, and I will also be recovering HP, which is definitely a nice, more of a defensive option with like Recover and Thunder Wave. That's what normal defensive Gholdengo would do, but it's immune to ground moves now. So I have to worry about dark moves. I have to worry about fire moves or just really strong hits in general. But Gholdengo has pretty nice bulk, paired with recovery and maybe one of the best dual typings in the game in Steel Ghost. So very excited to use Gholdengo here. Yeah, it's gonna be really good. It's one of the meta-defining Pokemon of almost any ability, as far as I'm aware. So with the second pick, there were like my exposure to almost any ability is basically watching Pokemon and his videos. And there's one Pokemon in particular that just seems so funny and so good that I definitely wanted to try if it was out there. Like, even if it's not the best Pokemon, I think it's really good for what it is. And that Pokemon was able to stay, and that Pokemon is Screamtail. Screamtail will not be having photosynthesis. The main ability I want to use on it is Pixelate. So normal moves become Fairy and have 1.2 times power. So we got a Boom Burst, and you can spam Boom Bursts. And this deals like the calcs on Screamtail with Boom Burst is really crazy, even with only a base 65 special attack. It becomes Fairy, which is a lot harder to resist. It would be Poison and Steel. And because you are a Psychic type, like you can run Psychic if you are worried about Poison types that are going to be resistant to Boom Burst. Screamtail also obviously has Wisp Protect. That could be a Calm Mind. Sweeper with Boom Burst, you're dealing just massive damage there. And you have really high HP, so you have a lot of versatility in what Screamtail can do. But honestly, I think a lot of times it's going to be Boom Burst and just going for raw damage. The 111 speed tier is also great. You're going to be outspeeding a lot of the 110 that are like, I feel like the elite speed tier is going to be 110. So anything faster than 110 is super nice to have. The second ability I'm giving, in addition to Pixelate, is Unaware. So if I face a Pokemon that is really great offensively into me, like, this bulk is ridiculous. And you have reliable recovery and Wish Protect. You have Encore. If a Pokemon's trying to go for setup moves, you can lock it into a certain move and then switch from there, or maybe even just slowly attack and then eventually get the kill. Because your offense aren't that great. But if you can Encore something into like a defensive setup move, then that seems like a really good option. Yeah, Screamtail is 16 points, so it's like one of the most expensive Pokemon anyway, but I feel like it was just a great pairing to go with Gholdengo. Not too worried about Dragon types with Gholdengo plus Screamtail. I guess maybe Ghost spam would be annoying to me, but I'm pretty sure I have the best Ghost type that it's allowed, because Dragapult was not allowed. So you have Gengar and Hisui and Zoroark, which are also really high point valued Pokemon for interesting reasons, but they actually both weren't picked. So having two Pokemon with the Ghost didn't seem like the biggest deal. I do address it later on in the draft, but I think it's fine. The next Pokemon that I picked, I noticed there were a lot of fighting types that were banned. And I'm assuming they're also banned from normal, almost any ability play on the Smogon just ladder. So Iron Valiant's not available. Keldeo, Sneasler, Urshifu, Water, and Dark Zamazenta, they're all banned. And one fighting type was picked already, and Tracheon. And just giving a fighting type would usually have really strong attack and usually good speed, depending on what type of fighting type you get. But usually their attacks are sky high. So if you give it like sky high attack plus an ability that can like further boost that attack, that seems pretty broken to me. So I got a Pokemon that doesn't really have great switch-ins to its dual stab. Maybe it's a little bit slow in this metagame is a little bit of a downside, but we have Galarian Zapdos here. Also has Thunderous Kick, so if there's like really strong defensive stalwart Pokemon, I'm going to be lowering your defenses. So I'm eventually going to be able to break through you. Now, the two abilities I gave Galarian Zapdos are, one is Magic Guard. So now I can go Life Orb, Brave Bird, and take 0 recoil. And the bulk on Galarian Zapdos is 90-90-90. Like, it's pretty decent. So not taking any recoil from going for Life Orb Brave Bird seems kind of ridiculous. Another ability I gave it is Tough Claws. So if I want to go for this, will probably be more often on Choice Scarf sets. Maybe Choice Banded with Tough Claws. It could be Choice Banded with Magikarp if I want to make sure I have enough health going for Brave Birds. I think a lot of times I'm going for Brave Bird anyway with Zapdos, but Thunderous Kick's a nice option to make sure really defensive Pokemon are eventually going to lose to the Zapdos if they don't attack into me. Galarian Zapdos, Tough Claws multiplies contact moves by 1.3. There is an ability that's also really good, that's Sword of Ruin. I think it's 1.33 times attack boost essentially. So Tough Claws is slightly weaker, and I actually don't give Sword of Ruin to any Pokemon on my team. And it's a really great ability, but the very slight downside is it shows the ability of Sword of Ruin when it goes in the field. So having Tough Claws, even though it's slightly weaker, it doesn't show that I am Tough Claws. So you're not going to know if I'm Tough Claws or Magikarp, at least at the beginning when Zapdos is on the field. So I felt like that information knowledge is like slightly better than having very minimal increase in damage. So close combat, obviously knockoff. This is a pretty great Scarfer and also is a ground resist. So ideally, Gholdengo is not going to be running Earth Eater a ton, but I have it on there. I actually don't draft a ton of Earthquake resist on the team, so nice for Galarian Zapdos to handle that. Now we are at pick 4, and honestly, a lot of these Pokemon I was considering at pick 2 and 3 were available at pick 4 and 5, which is really crazy. Some of the Pokemon are Tinglu. There's just the elite defensive monster, and just imagine Tinglu with Prankster. Like, that's ridiculous. That's just crazy. Volcarona, given Magikarp, yeah, you're not taking rocks damage, and you can give it a Life Orb, and you're just hitting ridiculous damage like that. That's also really good. And you could give a Desolate Land, and just your fire moves are unstoppable. Ogerpon Wellspring with Primordial Sea. Yeah, permanent rain with Ogerpon. Yeah, that's crazy. Ogerpon Hearthflame, same thing with Desolate Land. And you also, like, counter your Primordial Sea options as well, because you just have grass moves that'll hit those water types you're trying to switch into Ogerpon. Primarina is also really great, but I have Screamtail, so probably not getting Primarina. Ursaluna Blood Moon seems really funny with Steam Engine, but probably not going to get it, especially because I have Gholdengo that doesn't have rocks. I want to have like a ground type that has rocks. Regieleki also seems really good as just a really fast rapid spinner, but there were just all those options I said before just seemed a lot better, so I'm going to be going for those. So the next Pokemon I get is going to be the Pokemon that I sniped from Nexus here, which is Ogerpon Wellspring. So yeah, we are giving this Primordial Sea. So Heavy Rain, this ability, the rain's going to stay here indefinitely unless there's a Desolate Land, or I guess Delta Stream would negate the weather here. I don't know if did anyone get Delta. There is one Pokemon that has Delta Stream out of the 8 Pokemon, out of the 8 teams. One coach decided to give someone Delta Stream, so that's a fair way to negate weather. But I'm still hitting super hard with Ivy Cudgels, and this is a pretty, like, 110 is definitely a pretty elite speed tier, and I won't be able to Scarf or have like a Life Orb boost, but I have the Wellspring Mask, which gives me 1.2 times power anyway. So Ivy Cudgel's hitting super hard in rain. U-turn, I have grass covered, so if you have another Primordial Sea user, I'm probably going to beat them because I have really strong grass coverage. Synthesis sets are probably not going to be great because I'm going to be operating in rain a lot on this set. Especially because the second ability I gave Ogerpon is Swift Swim, which doubles my speed in rain. Now, that means, like, I'm not going to be able to pair that unless I give myself manual Rain Dance, which is definitely an option. But I'm probably giving Drizzle to another Pokemon on my team later on for the option of Swift Swim, just to have that fast speed with Ivy Cudgel and the boosted moves in rain. Like, that's ridiculous. But the downside of Swift Swim is it can be countered by Desolate Land. So I do have to watch out for that if I do run Swift Swim. But yeah, Ogerpon's ridiculous. It also has spikes, so it is a spike around my team. So that is great. now it's back to my pick 5. And again, I have the second pick, so it's basically Nexus picking 2 in a row. But outside, it's basically a wheel. No, honestly, with 8 people, a lot of picks feel like wheels almost anyway. So I definitely could have gotten Tinglu here. And I feel like that would have been so nutty on this team. But that is also an incredible amount of points. I believe it's 17 points for Tinglu. Yeah, 17 points for Tinglu. So that would have brought my point value down a lot. And there was a ground type that I also felt was super good. That gave me rocks. I didn't go with the Ursaluna Blood Moon here. I went with Mamoswine. Now, Mamoswine, the ability I'm giving, the first one is Technician. So yeah, you have Icicle Spear with loaded dice. Technician, yeah, those moves are hitting ridiculously hard. Yeah, and a nice thing with Icicle Spear is Fluffy is like a premier defensive ability, which with the downside is you're being weak to fire, but otherwise you double your defenses. But Icicle Sphere is not a contact move, so this can ignore the Fluffy Pokemon, and this could basically 2 a KO. Especially if I get 5 hits, this should 2 a KO like any Mon that has Fluffy. And does it like it isn't resistant to ice. So Icicle Sphere is so crazy. Ice Shard, obviously, it's going to be very, very strong. We have Trailblaze to give myself the speed boost and then utilize Icicle Sphere. And I believe it has Rock Blast if I really needed that coverage. So I think Icicle Sphere is almost always when I'm going to be clicking. Obviously, Earthquake is a really, really nice move here. This seems like a really reliable set. And if I get a speed with Trailblaze, I'm speeding basically everything that's Night Choice Scarf. So that also seemed really, really nice. I can get myself Stealth Rocks if I want as well, if I can spell. I have Screamtail and Mamoswine as my second rocker here. The second ability I gave it was Adaptability. Yeah, if I want stronger Earthquakes, then I can go for Adaptability. If I want, it'll give the same amount of damage to like Icicle Spear. This, I guess, lets me go for Icicle Crashes for more damage. I think more often I'm going to go for Technician, but if I want to go like a Choice Scarf Mamoswine, then I think Earthquake with Adaptability seems really, really good. I could have gave this Sword of Ruin, but again, it kind of spoils the surprise factor, and Adaptability, like, you're hitting harder with your stabs than you do with Sword of Ruin, and you almost always want to click stabs. Knockoff is fine on Mamoswine as well, but you really want to click Icicle Crash, Earthquake, Ice Shard, and then Rocks is a good option. So Mamoswine is here, and that's going to be doing a ton of damage for me. And now for this is pick 6 and 7, so this is like the next wheel. There were Pokemon that I was still considering before, like pick 2 and 3 range, that are still around. Tinglu is still around. I am not picking it for this draft, but again, would have been crazy. But I don't have removal on the team, so I definitely need that. And I want a Drizzle Pokemon for Ogerpon and get like a good fire resist, because I don't really have that yet on the team. And Tentacruel was an option here that gives myself removal and a good pivot with Flip Turn, but I wanted a slower pivot option with Drizzle to go into Ogerpon, and I think I'm pretty happy with the next 2 picks here. So I get Regieleki. Now, this is the fastest Pokemon that is allowed, so that seems great. And 2 abilities I'm going to give it. One is pretty... it definitely makes sense to go Refrigerate, because now you have ice coverage. This league, there is no Terra. Terra is banned, so normally Regieleki would be really bad, but now I have Refrigerate, which also gives me priority extreme speed. And now with Regieleki, with having Refrigerate, physical moves are definitely like a lot better. You have Facade, Body Slam, Rapid Spin now becomes a ice type move, so you're not going to be able to spin Baka with ghost types. And Explosion is now 250 base power ice move, as opposed to a normal move, which could easily be resisted. So you can almost always go Adamant or plus attacking nature at Regieleki, and you can basically get a kill with Explosion whenever you want to. And the second ability I gave it was Galvanize, which will give me Electric Stab to my extreme speeds and to my explosions and to my rapid spin. So if you go into, if you want to be super aggressive and go into your Ice Resist to take on Regieleki, I could easily be Galvanized, and then, yeah, you're getting destroyed by physical electric coverage here. It's going to be a premier Rapid Spinner. It's going to be a premier Reflect and light screen user. Honestly, something like this seems like a pretty good set with the Regieleki. Something like this. Yeah, that seems pretty good. Or if I want speed, outspeed, choice scarfers or whatever. Yeah, I can go for screens, explode to make sure you can't defog on me. Even though I do have Gholdengo, don't have good as gold on it. And then I can go into whatever sweeper Mamoswine. I got a Trailblaze up, Ogerpon with Swords Dance. It can also Trailblaze as well. I don't think I mentioned that, but it could speed Trailblaze as well. I guess Zapdos could be agility, Nasty Plot, Gholdengo, Calm Mind, Scream Tail. So a ton of setup on this team, which is what I really, really like. So I'm still really weak to the ground, and I don't really change that here. But I also said I was weak to fire. Now Ogerpon is good into that with Primordial Seed, but my slow pivot Pokemon is going to be Dragalge for 7 points. The first ability I gave it is Drizzle, as you guys were talking about, which kind of seems weird on a Dragalge, and also consider, like, Dragalge with adaptability. Like, that hits really, really hard coming off 97 special attack. Like, Dragon and Poison's really nice. Like, you don't hit Steel types, and you have Focus Blast, which hits Steel types, but, like, the Poison's really nice to be able to hit Fairy types that would resist your Dragon moves. But Dragalge's definitely not hitting that hard because I'm not giving it attack boosting options. But we have Drizzle, which will weaken fire moves and gives me an option to go into Ogerpon, and I could go for very, very slow flip turns. So that's an option I like from Dragalge. Dragalge is also a grounded poison type, so I absorb toxic spikes, which is definitely nice. And another ability I gave it was Regenerator. So it doesn't have reliable recovery, but I can pivot in onto strong fire type attacks, either with Drizzle or with Regenerator. Probably Regenerator more often, unless I'm running the Ogerpon, obviously. My defenses will definitely be fine enough. Poison Dragon is a pretty decent defensive typing, but Regenerator, slow pivot out, go into all my fast offensive Pokemon. So Dragalge seems really, really nice as a defensive Pokemon on this team, and it really has really high special defense. I probably don't have to invest too much into it. So Dragalge's here. It's a pretty elite special defensive Pokemon that can go mixed defensive. I'm going to get more defensive Pokemon later, but I don't have a ton of points left. I think I have like about 20 points left, and we have to get at least 3 more Pokemon. But I also wanted to get the maximum amount of 12 because I figured having a lot of options seemed really fun this season. So I picked 2 ground weak Pokemon here. So I definitely want some more ground resist. I feel like that is going to be probably good on this team. Another thing I wanted was a Chien-Pao answer, because Chien-Pao is ridiculous, and Chien-Pao ability from Nexus is Magic Garden and adaptability. That's ridiculous. So he could have gave it Sword of Ruin. He actually didn't give that to any Pokemon on his team either. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, he could have just gave the normal ability to Chien-Pao, and it just becomes ridiculous. So I feel like I have a pretty good answer into that in 5-point Incineroar. I thought Incineroar was really, really good value, and one of the abilities I am giving it is Intimidate, which is not that exciting because Intimidate is an ability that Incineroar normally has. But Intimidate Incineroar is just really, really nice into Ice plus Dark from the Chien-Pao. And obviously has Parting Shot, Fake Out, has like really good defensive utility. It's another slow pivot. 60 speed is not that fast, but you could invest a lot of speed if you really wanted to go like max speed. This will outspeed base 110 Pokemon in my Ogerpon after a Trailblaze. So like you could go faster than Incineroar, but I think a lot of times is going to be, if I'm going Intimidate, it's going to be slow and getting Memento at Parting Shot. But because it's a starter type, it also has decent stabs. I think Incineroar is definitely going to be a fine option as a defensive Pokemon, but I also have options to not make it a defensive Pokemon and make it a very offensive Pokemon, because my second ability that I gave it is Steam Engine. So the Pokemon speed is raised by 6 stages after it is damaged by a fire or water type move. Now, water type moves, obviously I'm weak to, so like that's not great to get the Steam Engine boost there, but fire type moves. So we have Dragalge that takes them very well. Ogerpon can take them well with Primordial Sea. Yeah, and they're the 2 main Pokemon. So now I have a third fire resist. Or something like you're worried about clicking fire moves against my team, which just really helps against Gholdengo because I gave it Earth Eater and not like a Will-Baked Body or something like that that can handle fire moves, no issue. So I can go Steam Engine. I could get +6 speed, and I could go like max HP, max speed. And if I'm getting +6 speed, I'm probably outspeeding everything that's not Choice Scarf, and like you'd have to be a fast Choice Scarf to outspeed +6 speed Incineroar. And if I go speed investment, then I should be outspeeding everything. And I can give it a Power Trip. So boost my attack +20 for each of the user stats. So now I'm at 140 base power Dark Move Stab from 115 attack Incineroar. Like that's dealing some pretty massive damage if I can get a Steam Engine boost. And if I go even like a water type move and I expect it to be weak and get a weakness policy boost, then that might be game right there. So Incineroar, you don't know if it's going to be defensive Intimidate or maybe a fast sweeper and Steam Engine. So I really like Incineroar here. Next Pokemon I get is going to be a third Stealth Rocker on the team, and I wanted just a really, really good defensive Pokemon. I could just spam, bring it, has recovery, and there's because there's so many powerful Pokemon in this that I feel like I wanted defensive Stalwart, and I was more debating Garganacl, but one, that is yet another ground weak Pokemon, and two, like Salt Cure, I feel like is easily counterable, so I go for Clefable instead. Yeah, we have Clefable, but imagine a Clefable with Fluffy. Let me change it here, Fluffy. So now you're taking half the damage you normally take on physical moves, unless it's fire moves, but I have so many answers to fire types, and I'm not too worried about that. But we have Moonlight as a reliable recovery, Moonblast, Thunder Wave, Stealth Rocks. The normal, you know what Clefable does, so just having Fluffy instead of Magikarp, that's ridiculous damage mitigation there. And it's fine, special defense investment. I do have two Fluffy Fairies with Screamtail and Clefable, but I feel like a lot of times I'm going to be wanting the Screamtail to be offensive anyway, so I think the pairing of both is fine. I guess poison types are a little stronger into me, but again, I have Mamoswine, so I'm not too worried about poison types, and I have Gholdengo, so I think that's fine. And then offensive steals would be annoying against, but again, I have the best offensive steal in the game in Gholdengo. At least that's what allowed. I had the strongest, so yeah, I'm not worried about that at all. So Clefable with Fluffy is really nice, but the second ability is Levitate. So yeah, Clefable's not weak to ground, but now it's immune to ground, which is going to be really nice. Zapdos is immune and Ogerpon resists, but it's not going to want to take more than one Earthquake, honestly. So having an option that is Levitate, flat out immune, and gives me a lot of momentum with Clefable seems like a really nice option. I can go for Baton Pass as momentum, another slow pivot option. Baton Pass obviously banned in OU play, but I don't even know if it's banned in almost any ability or not. Probably is. No, I'm sure it's definitely banned, but in this, as long as you don't pass that, it's fine. So having a slow Baton Pass option in Clefable seems really, really nice here. So yeah, you know what Clefable does. We have 4 points left, and I can get 1 to 3 Pokemon. So I am actually going to get 3 Pokemon. A 1-pointer, a 2-pointer, and a 1-pointer. And I feel like I'm going to bring all 12 Pokemon this season, and I'm really excited to use these. So for 1 point, we have Rampardos. The first ability I'm giving it is Rocky Payload, which offensive stat is multiplied by 1.5 while using a rock type attack. So yeah, we can go 252, Choice Band, Rocky Payload, Head Smash. Is there a resist? I'm not sure if there's a resist. I mean, Tinglu is going to be a really, really good option into this, but I'm going to just pull it up on the side. Adamant, Choice Band, Rocky Payload, Head Smash to Tinglu. If you're specially defensive, I do 58 to 68%. So yeah, this is some ridiculous damage output from Rampardos. Yeah, I'm excited for that potential opportunity there. And the second ability I'm giving it's Surge Surfer. So if there's Electric Train out, the speed is doubled. So now we have a super, super fast. I can go Choice Band, max attack again, but now we have double the speed, and with this speed investment, that'll outspeed everything that's not a Choice Scarf. And I think that might even outspeed Choice Scarf base 80 Pokemon or so. I can give it Jolly to make it outspeed even more stuff. But yeah, this could hit for really hard damage, just because of that high attack stat. Obviously, going for Head Smash, I'm probably losing 50% of my health anyway, but yeah, this is like the ultimate wall breaker from 1 point. I'm pretty excited with that. Next Pokemon I got was 2-point Cacturne. Oh yeah, I just said the 2 abilities here. And the first ability, which is probably almost always going to be used, is going to be Prankster. Now we can go to status, and see all the moves Prankster Cacturne gets. Destiny Bond, that seems good. Encore Disable, Prankster, that seems pretty nasty. Prankster Leech Seed, Prankster Spikes, Prankster Subs with Toxic Spike Spam, Priority Taunt to make sure you don't go for hazards, Priority Switcheroo to give you like a Flame Orb or a Lagging Tail or something like that. Priority Block, which seems that could be a funny option there. Priority Cotton Spore to make sure your speed is super low. Priority Spite to try to get rid of like low PP moves. Prankster Rain Dance, Prankster Sunny Day, so Prankster Rain to get Swift Swim Ogerpon going. Yeah, there's a lot of options here. I'm very excited to use 2-point Cacturne, and I think it'll be super annoying. And the second ability I gave it was Grassy Surge with Grassy Glide. So now we have a base 115 attacking Pokemon, which I think Rillaboom is 125? 125. So this is a slightly weaker Rillaboom with Grassy Glide, but it doesn't have Wood Hammer, but it had Seed Bomb, so like it has, and I guess you could go for it has Bullet Seed, right? Go for Bullet Seed with Loaded Dice. Seems like a pretty fun option as well. But I think Cacturne a lot of times is gonna be Prankster if I bring it. But Grassy Surge is like a really cool offensive option. I could even go special with Leaf Storm, coming off 115 special attack. Life Orb, and like it has enough attack where it could go mixed with Sucker Punch as well. So yeah, Cacturne, that could be a really cool breaking option as well. And the last Pokemon getting for 1 point is this Pyroar. Now where is he? Pyroar's over here. Now if I can't make Pyroar work with the 2 abilities that I'm giving it for 1 point, like there's like no excuses for this Pyroar. So the first ability I'm giving it is Desolate Land. So Permanent Sun with Pyroar with Overheat coming off 109 special attack and outspeeding base 100 seems pretty solid. And then you also have a Solar Beam that's always going to be active, so you always have an option to hit water types. That seems pretty nice. I think you have Flame Charge as well if I want to even boost my speed further. I don't think physically attacking Pyroar is going to be coming too often, but I do have Permanent Sun, so Flare Blitz. It does have Flare Blitz. You never know. And the second ability I'm giving it is Beads of Ruin, which is basically a 1.33 times boost. Pretty similar to Hadron Engine, where like it gives that same amount of boost on all special moves. So Hyper Voice is now going to be a lot stronger. So. And if I don't want to set up a Sun, I guess. But I think a lot of times it's going to be Desolate Land. But Bead of Ruin is also fine. So, yeah, that is my team. Really, really fun options here. I am super looking excited into this. And maybe now that I have like the capability to run these sets and run like these types of teams, I might be able to do some Then We Battle content out there. Maybe let me know if you're interested in that. Let me know down below if you think you would have gone with different abilities on these Pokemon, or what your favorite Pokemon is in this team, and what do you think is going to exceed on this team. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, and yeah, until next time, later guys.